I trained in the UK, first with Alpanas and Guptaji, with whom I trained about 3 years, I think. Then I went to train with Sushmita Ghosh, who taught at Bhavan for about 3 to 4 years, so I learned with her there. At Bhavan, I did my post-diploma in Kathak, and then I continued training with her when she left Bhavan until she went to India. So I then continued focusing on my own training, on work, and just been working basically with other dancers, which I also feel was part of my training as well.
I know one of the first pieces you created in yourself was Lal Shari. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Ooh. It is a very personal piece because it was based on my mum's story. Without going too much into the story, I've been hearing it for all my kind of childhood, my mum talking about desiring a lal shari, which is a red dress, for her wedding. That's what she dreamt of wearing, and she ended up having a purple sari. But subsequently, she wanted to own one, but she never had it, never owned one. So it's something that stayed with me. And when I was creating my first solo piece, I kind of wanted to take something that is personal to me.
And did you have a director to work with?
Yes, I worked with Ajay Kumar, who's an artist, and it was actually Hardayal Rai who put me in touch and said, why don't you work with him to create this piece? And I've worked with him before that on Macbeth, Stage of Blood, which was created at Woodland Art Centre in the river. We performed it with a Manipuri theatre company. It was really kind of a very new experience for me to work with them. But working with the Manipuri company was the kind of opening for me to go into work that I felt that I wanted to tell, and particularly women's story. Women's subject always has been important to me because I come from a very orthodox Islamic background, and I have 9 siblings, including 8 of them are girls and one brother. And also, growing up, hearing lots of stories, seeing the struggle of women, immediate family as well as out, kind of distant families, and the society in general, seeing the difference in how women are treated and men are treated, even like within the family. If you're made a meat curry, you end up having all the juices and leftover, but no meat left for you because of the men of the family will get all the nice pieces. So I grew up with that, and I think somehow, I have no idea how, I was quite rebellious as a child, and I don't know where I got the courage from. Maybe seeing my mother struggling, and I felt like I had to stand up for her, and that was kind of initially how it started. So I think naturally, and also when I was dancing, I found all the classical Indian dance, particularly, or Kathak anyway, is very pretty, very nice, very adorned with jewelry. And when I'm moving, they're hitting my face, hitting my eyes, and I'm thinking, why am I wearing all of those things? Why do I need to wear this? But I think slowly that kind of realization came where I started to strip all that away. I only kept a tikka, and then that got rid of that. So I think it was a journey for me. It wasn't straight away that I made that decision. It was something that I did very step by step. And also kind of being an outsider, being Bangladeshi, being Muslim, being British, that has a lot to play with how I was feeling, what I wanted to do. And I knew I would be an outsider. I knew I couldn't do certain things because I'm not an insider, I'm an outsider. So this is why I took my time to find my own voice. And when I felt confident in it, that's when I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I don't care now who says what and who I am and what I am, because I know who I am and I know where I'm coming from. And so that's kind of where, yeah.
Because you've dealt with some really heavy issues, like honor killing, acid attacks, childlessness.
I think if I didn't have any empathy towards those subjects, I would not do it at all. Saying that, when I did Yarma, which was about a childless woman, I had just had my first child, And I remember thinking, how am I going to empathize with somebody who don't have it? So I have to find a way to deal with that, find that emotion. And so you do feel heavy, but then I always have to say to myself that I am a performer. I am telling their story. It's not my story, it's their story. I haven't been through that, they've been through that. And also just, I don't necessarily distance myself from it. I do allow it to, kind of consume me. And especially when I'm on stage, I sometimes don't even know I've performed it. Afterwards I think, did I do that bit or did I miss that bit? What happened? I get really consumed in that. But it is something that I have an amazing team of people I work with. And also there is a self kind of taking care I do to myself when I work with those subjects, is where I do say to myself, why I'm doing these stories, who am I doing it for? And this is why I seek those women to come and see the shows. My entire career has been about involving the women who would not normally come to the theatres, or women that we see but we don't know nothing about, to tell their stories and to bring them in, to get their kind of support and get their opinions as well in how the show went for them. How did they feel? Was it justifiable for them? Was I, one of the things I'm really afraid of doing is that offending them, and that's the last thing I want to do. So I have to be extremely careful how I tackle the subject. End of the day, it is also entertainment for an audience to come and see, to educate, to be aware, bring awareness of the subject, and most importantly, giving voices to these women. When I was working on my current project, Kathak, I think that's when I really felt it, because I wasn't physically involved in terms of movement-wise, because movement really helps to release a lot of stuff, and because Kathak was done with the social distancing and isolation with the women group, a lot of stories was coming through to me. It was quite heavy, and I had nowhere to deal with it because I was just doing it. I was supporting them constantly. Like it was something like 600 women on the group, and supporting each one was quite a lot. That was Hum in My Heart was a project where we were outreached into four areas in England: Luton, Woking, Birmingham and London. And the idea for this project was supporting and also giving women, because I think mental health is still quite a taboo subject within this community. And we worked with different communities looking at mental health and how they react to it, and what's going on, and how are they supported. And it was really interesting because each area has different kind of thing to say about mental health. And so when we performed in Luton, first performance we did was in Woking, which was a one story. I just taken one story from Woking, put that into production. Then when we went to Luton, I just thought there were so many stories, and it's so difficult to choose one story to tell. So I decided that I'm going to tell multiple stories, as many stories as I can. And so that's when we did a site-specific work at the Hat Factory. In all the work that I created, I don't, even though my work is very much about women's work, but I also like to tell stories of men through women, how they see men. So the one I created with Greta Zabulyte was called Man Admi. That was looking at how a woman's life is impactful or affected by how men sometimes behave. If man is depressed, then it really has a toll on the woman, because if a man is kind of depressed for whatever reason and he's not doing things, he's not getting on with life, it really impacts how woman, because woman then has to become stronger. She has to then take on. So it's more really looking at, from a woman's perspective, how this man was going through his turmoil, his depression, his wanting to commit suicide. Well, I think it's simple. I always maintain that any piece of work I've done in the past and will continue to do is always about empowering women. It's never about victimizing them. It's not that, oh, I've been beaten up, so therefore I'm a victim. Yes, I've been beaten up. How do I rise above that? And I think that's my only answer really, is to not victimize them and always empower. So the piece has to finish with empowerment. If you are telling a story, of course, in Yarma, for example, she kills her husband, but it's again, in real life she would end up in jail and so on. But it's about taking control of her life. If the society, if the communities are talking behind her back because she hasn't got a child, and she's made to feel less of a woman because she's not able to give birth to a child, then she's going to take control of that. I'm not going to let you tell me I'm a barren woman or I'm not worthy of a woman, but I'm going to take control of this. And that control is by getting rid of him. I've been working with the same woman for last 10, 15 years. And again and again, I'm back and forth with the same women as well as newer women I'm meeting. Certain key element, I do give it to them. I said, this means this. And I think that was kind of initially how I did it, but over the years I did less and less of that. And I kind of got them to understand what the emotion is. And when they express emotionally, they really understand what that is. So when they see that on stage, they can empathize or they can see and connect with the story. So I think emotionally they always felt connected to the stories that they saw on stage. I will always evolve with time. I think otherwise I'll be very bored with myself. And as for subject, I think, women's issues never ever will go away, unfortunately. I think as long as we have the imbalance between men and women in society, issues will always continue. And also I am also working with disfranchised, disadvantaged community groups, and I think they have a long way to go still, unfortunately. So in the next, I suppose, few years, I'll still be doing work related to women's issues, but we do have plans over 5-10 years. In fact, project in mind, but I will definitely evolve my project according to what's going on in society, because I think it's really important for me to speak what's happening now, because if 100 years time my work is seen by somebody, they can say, oh, that was 100 years ago, this is how women used to be treated, so they have a reference point as well. But very much about moving with the time, allowing time to express the time that we live in.